Ladies and gentlemen, we are here for another evening of the Vibrant Networking Forum, and this is a conversation series. Today's guest is Geetika Sasan Bhandari, who's an eminent journalist, editor, and thinker. And she's been thinking a lot about parenting and children. She has a vast experience of writing and working with media houses, right from the Times of India to India Today to Cosmopolitan. She's been the editor of Child, and that has given her a lot of insight, I guess, and experience in the field. And Geetika has also moved to Nigeria in recent years, has been here during the lockdown, I believe, and is going back to Lagos shortly. Welcome to the show, Geetika.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that lovely introduction. Happy to be here.
Most welcome. It's been a while since you were in Chandigarh, and I do remember a long time ago when you were a part of the Times of India here. A lot of us
Yes.
were still learning the ropes of our own jobs. You were among them, and quite a few of your friends in Chandigarh probably would be happy to see this show. But it does
Yes.
go throughout India, and you can spread this word across India once the conversation is recorded. So, coming to the topic and coming to what you've been up to. So, first, tell me about your own self a little bit, since you have two daughters and they are obviously growing kids. And how does it feel to be working and raising them at the same time? And also at the moment you're in transition. So, how's the
Right.
feeling?
So it's been wonderful, of course, to have kids and to kind of, relive a little bit of your childhood with them, to actually go back and do some of the things that one never got a chance to do when we were children. And before you know it, in the blink of an eye, my older one is 14 and the younger one is 9.5. And I don't know where the years have gone. But
That's what happens.
it's also kind of helped me in my journey as a writer, especially as a parenting writer, because a lot of the things that I was reading, I was seeing in my own life, or putting to sort of practice and seeing how my kids react. So it's been really wonderful. And like you said, the last 3 years have our whole family has had a lot of change because we moved to Lagos, Nigeria, and that was a big change. And of course, everybody was like, "Are you sure you want to go?" Because the entire image of Nigeria is that it's not very safe, and so all family and friends and well wishers, everybody was worried. But we sort of, we were very happy to take it as an adventure, as a change. And my husband and I just thought that there would be no better way for children to get and actually a full rounded education, and exposure. We keep trying to teach them diversity, but imagine taking them out of their comfort zone and moving them a continent away. And I can honestly say that I have seen such a big difference in their personalities in these last 2 3 years, that now I feel I can put them anywhere and they'll be able to handle that change. So we came back to India actually for just a few weeks. A few weeks became a year, and then because of COVID, now we're stuck and waiting to go back. But they have, adapted so well. First to a different board in a school there, then back to India for school for one more year in a totally different board, and now going back. So, honestly, I think initially we all kind of fear change, but once you make that shift in mindset, it really is it's a wonderful journey.
I agree. And in fact, it's also because these times are so rapidly changing. And also, parents are learning at the same time as their kids are learning because parents are learning to be parents, kids are
Right.
learning to be grown up kids. So it's nobody knows exactly what to do initially. There's no roadmap, there's no standard operating procedure in parenting. So I guess
Absolutely.
everyone learns on the job. And I mean, in terms of the overall aspect of change and how to handle change, and also you could talk a little bit about the present crisis and how parents are having to cope with this. What is your
Yes.
tip to parents to start with? How to handle all this?
I think the first thing, and this is the reason why I launched this parenting platform, Let's Raise Good Kids Now, because I was really thinking about what kind of future our children are going to actually go into. And looking at the fact that we ourselves have been caught so unawares by COVID, and we have had to do so much of, introspection, so much of sort of drawing of strength from inside. And a lot of these things, have been with us since our childhood, and we've been able to kind of, tap into that. And looking at this, I mean, I really feel that parents, first and foremost, need to model this, sort of adaptability and flexibility to change before they can expect their children to. So, for many, many years, I feel, the times that we were growing up, people were in the same job for 20, 30 years. So change was almost seen as an antithesis to stability. It's only now that the word disruptors and disruption is seen as a good thing. But the
Yeah.
fact is that we are living in a world where, things are changing so rapidly that I feel tomorrow we can no longer prepare our children for particular jobs or, particular fields. We have to prepare them for life. And then it doesn't matter what field they choose to go into or what job they're doing. Once we have given them these life skills and once we have given them this, very strong framework of values, I feel they will be able to negotiate anything and everything. Today it is COVID. Tomorrow we have no idea what it could be. And apart from COVID, I mean, one part of the world has got forest fires. There's, it's happening now in California. The year started with that, with the Australian Open in
Yeah.
Australia.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of things happening. So there is no way, like you said, in parenting or now in life, that we can really have any sort of template that children can follow. We can help our children to get there. And, we can't spoon feed them. So if tomorrow you're going to have your child is going to go out into the world for college, let's say to another city, another country, that child is going to suddenly have so much of change. And where are they then going to look back and see? They will mirror what they saw you doing in a time of rapid change. So if you have been able to kind of, handle a time of change in your life with some amount of resilience and some semblance of normalcy, then they will also be able to kind of draw upon that memory and, mimic that or mirror that in their life. But if they've seen that their parents have been very flustered and very inflexible to change, then obviously some of that is going to stay deep rooted in their mind. So to
I
really
agree.
prepare children for tomorrow, I think the most important thing for parents is to themselves first be, flexible, adaptable, and to really make kids see that in themselves, in how they conduct themselves on a daily basis.
You're absolutely right. In fact, parents have to be role models, and I have seen in my own parenthood. I and my wife, we have two daughters as well, and
Right.
in their growing up years, if I would lose my cool, then obviously they would be affected.
Yes.
And luckily, I'm much cooler now, and I don't lose my cool that much. But it happens to people that they often crack under difficult circumstances, and that
Yes.
is when the test comes. A crisis
Yes.
is what really brings out your real
Yes.
nature.
Right.
And in
Yes.
this
Absolutely.
present scenario, you're right in saying that 2020 has thrown up problems, but every year throws up problems, right? This
Yes.
pandemic is an extra constitutional problem, if I can say so. But otherwise,
Absolutely.
there are so many things which happen throughout: bushfires, earthquakes, some disease or the other, and some problem or the other. You are in Nigeria, where it's not been hunky dory forever. I mean,
Yeah.
any problem
Absolutely.
would have occurred. So I totally agree with you that parents have to be resilient and strong and evenly minded. Only then
Yes.
children would do that. But then,
Yes.
what are the aspects of this? What are the details of this? How do parents actually get their children to become exemplary citizens and human beings?
I think, of course, first and foremost is to role model it. I mean, to model it in your life. And also, it's not like parents have to be absolutely, perfect. Nobody's perfect. It's very important for children to also see that parents are also, normal human beings. And they also have moments of, where there is conflict. Like, let's say parents are not on the same page, or, they are having issues and they themselves. So, what children will take out of this is how you deal with it. So, you can't, I mean, it's an unreal world if you prepare your child by showing them that you never break or never crack or never, have, I mean, never have any sort of problems. It's okay to show your vulnerabilities to your children as well, I feel. But I think children really see how you resolve conflicts within the house, how you yourself step up to the occasion when it demands. And those are the things that stay with them. And I think the other thing is also like we're discussing, it pandemic of course has been, completely out of the blue. But there is recession. People lose jobs. Young people lose jobs. They don't get jobs even after graduating, doing post graduation, long distance relationships. Then of course we know there's so much of screen time and all lots of other problems with risky behavior and so many other things. The point is that I think as parents, we will never be able to completely control the external circumstances. We can't. It's not in our hands. The only thing we can do is tell the child to be as much in control of themselves. So if they are, so I mean, look at the pandemic. We've been shut down in a house where our personal and our professional has merged, where earlier the home was a sanctuary that you came back to, where you put away all your external stimuluses that you had in the daytime from horrible bosses, traffic, all the other things, and you came home to that sanctuary. Now that home has become that space which where everything is merging together. So the ones who have really been able to manage it well are the ones who have been drawing on, let's say, their own inner resilience, maybe yoga, meditation, whatever, physical exercise, any practice that keeps them sort of centered and focused. They've managed to kind of, I would say, get through this very, very, very tough phase. And also, I feel for children, that is the only way to go. The only thing that they can actually control is their own emotions, their own physical well being, their own mental well being. Because eventually, nobody can control what is happening externally. But the
Yeah.
way you respond to that external environment, that response, which over time, if you keep doing it again and again, it becomes part of your conditioning, like a certain discipline. And that is what I feel really parents need to now focus on. I think we've done enough years of focusing on co-curricular activities, sending them to sports camps, putting them in tuitions and academics. All those things we have outsourced. This is the one thing that I think parents cannot and should not outsource: the development of the child from inside and from within, from heart and soul, from mind, body. This is what parents really need to now work on, I feel, for our children going forward.
I think that's very well said. I totally agree with you because what happens, the basic values, as you said earlier, if they are imparted and somehow imbibed by the kids, then these are going to last them in good stead throughout their lives. Whatever
Yes,
happens, and things keep happening, as you said, so many things are going to happen in life which are unforeseen. Life is
yes,
unpredictable on the whole. You can't
absolutely.
make it predictable in any way.
Yes,
So it is very very likely that children with good grounding and good foundations are going to be happier and successful people. And
yes,
ultimately, the goal of life is inner peace and happiness. That's what I feel. And
yes,
if children are content, cheerful, creative, I think they're going to do very well in life. But I want to
absolutely.
ask you about your work since you've been writing about this issue and related topics for many, many years. And also now you've started Let's Raise Good Kids. So let's talk about this kind of work that you are doing to make greater awareness amongst the society and people about the issue.
So the thing is that I was editor of Child for 4.5 years, and then after that, I continued to write on parenting. And throughout your life, you do a lot of different things. Journalism every day is a news story. So I've done magazines, I've done newspapers, I've done afternoon papers, I've done lots of different things, throughout my journalistic career. But somehow this is something that it always resonated with me. I just kind of, I found my sort of spot there, and I always enjoyed it a lot. And then through those 4 years, we did a lot of events. So I would meet a lot of parents. A lot of parents would write into us with their queries. And I always felt that, everybody was always looking for answers. Everybody was trying to be a better parent every day. But sometimes what happens is I think that we tend to, now what's happened is our lives have also become so cluttered that, even
Yeah,
if you're on your phone or you're looking at something, there is such a plethora is not even the right word. It's an overdose of information.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And even if sometimes you see a good article, you feel, okay, I'll read this. The doorbell will ring or some SMS some notification will
It's
pop up,
gone.
and then before you know, it's gone. So I felt that, these are not very difficult concepts or things to do. And I feel over the years, what's happened is so much of reading and writing, research, interviewing experts, all of that, you know, all of that put together, I felt I could come up with easy, doable tips that parents could very easily follow in their day to day life. Some of these, of course, I have also done. Some I'm trying on a daily basis. I also, I'm not always consistent with what I start out with the kids. But the point is that I felt that these are very simple if I can do it in small little doses, in a format that people are happy to consume these days. So which is more video, less. people are spending less time reading, it would just make, people's lives maybe a little easier, make their parenting journey a little bit more full of value. And since the time I've started this, it's hardly been a week or 10 days. I have so many parents who've been telling me that we've all been thinking on the same lines. Because, of course, COVID has thrown everybody off balance. And everyone is thinking about what future, our children are going to go into or inherit. People have lost an entire or had to defer an entire college year. Even now, they're still thinking, should they send their children now or wait till January or wait till May? So plans have gone completely haywire. Financial plans have gone haywire.
Yes,
Everything has gone haywire. So I just felt that in a time like this, a lot of people have been thinking on these lines and have been feeling the same thoughts. And somehow, I don't know, I just, I started putting my mind to it. And it's been in my mind for a long time to do something in the parenting platform. But I don't know, maybe for me, COVID was good in the sense that, it kind of came together. Maybe you don't have to step out of the house so much, so you have more time to really think about what you want to do. So I just started by writing notes in a notebook about what I would want to say, what I want to do. And then it kind of just fell into place.
that's really good. But this platform of Let's Raise Good Kids is more interesting because you are now, as you said, adopting the medium of video, and video is something which is consumed, so to say, by people ad nauseum. I
Yes,
mean, I was talking to a youngster I'm mentoring, and this youngster says that before going to bed, video is the last thing to do. And there's so much of, video, and then you wake up with video. So I think this platform may reach out a little more. Even this particular talk that we are conducting, this conversation, will also spread the message. So I think these short videos are the way to go forward. And so, what are you planning? Are you planning some more conversations? Are you planning to get some other speakers? Are you planning even to get some parents to talk, or what is your way forward?
yeah, so what I'm doing is, of course, I keep recording my videos and putting them out, and I'm basically dealing only with life skills, and I'm dealing with values. I'm dealing with the things that I think I want my children to have when they go out into the world, because I feel a lot of the other stuff is already done. So I don't want to go down. There are a lot of moms and bloggers who've done a really good job with all the DIY and the art and craft. So I don't want to get into that. I wanted to be very specific, and so of course, I'm going to talk to experts. There's some which are slightly tougher, which even I may not know, like creative thinking. It's been listed by WHO as one of the key life skills. So for some of these, I will talk to experts. I will look at a lot of research done. I will talk to children themselves also. I would like to talk to young adults. Some of them who've gone out into the world, into colleges abroad. Some of the change that they have faced, and put all of that together. Some video, of course, some I will continue to write because writing remains my first love. So I will do my blogs as well, and just keep putting them out, and hopefully they will resonate with parents.
Yeah, so let's talk a little more about resilience, which is the theme that we're really focusing on.
Right.
And how, as human beings, we go through these ups and downs. And parents are obviously what in their 20s, 30s, 40s when the
Yes.
children are growing up. And they are parents who are human and they display that human emotion, which is very difficult to control. And
Yes.
emotional intelligence is often lacking. You don't know what to say in front of whom.
Yes.
Even the elderly at home feel very scared if their son or daughter says something scary about the world, about the pandemic, but people just don't stop. And then we'll put on the TV blaring with, I
Yes.
won't name anyone, but all kinds of channels. And
Yes.
then, we have the kids also consuming the same kind of negativity. So,
Yes.
this resilience in an atmosphere which is vitiated often and at least full of worry and fear is very, very difficult. You mentioned
Yes.
meditation, but it is something that is much required, going
Yes.
within and being resilient. So, how do parents become more resilient and make their kids more resilient? Let's focus on that.
I think the thing about resilience is that it really is to do with how you look at it. So at one level, you can look at, let's say, the pandemic as the worst thing. Of course, I mean, there is absolutely no denying the fact that it has been a disaster in terms of how many lives have been lost, and, how many livelihoods have been lost and the impact that it's going to have. But the fact of the matter is, as parents, it is important to also keep reminding yourself and your children how fortunate you are, and be grateful. I think gratitude is very important in grounding children. And, constantly reminding yourself first and them, and looking at the sort of, silver lining, because there is so much to still be thankful for. And the fact of the matter is that we know that, at some point this will be past us and we will move forward. So, of course, we have our moments of feeling low ourselves. But the point is that you don't always have to display that in front of your children. You should, have your own ways of dealing with it, whether it is catching up with friends, watching something light-hearted. Everybody has their own ways, their own coping mechanisms. But it's
Yeah,
important for kids to see that also, that, you are coping in your own way. And for children also, I think, to build resilience in children, is to constantly keep encouraging them to keep doing things more and more again and again, even if they're not good at it, even if they don't do it well the first time. I think that's the whole thing about resilience. So even if there's a situation like this where there is homeschooling going on, or they're not being able to do the things they really love, have that 10-minute conversation with them, half an hour conversation, even about talking about the negative news. I've said this in one of my videos. It's not important enough to think that children are in and out of the room so they know what's going on. Children may be digesting that same news in a very different way. A child who is very sensitive may get very scared by seeing what is going on. And then, there's, like you're saying, I mean, there's blaring news channel. So sit with your child. I would say, conversations are so important. When we were younger, there were no cell phones, there was only Doordarshan. We spent so much time with our family unit, whether it was a joint family or a nuclear family, just doing simple things, playing board games, card games, outdoor activities, just spending that thoughtful time, that bonding which we keep talking about. That bonding is very important in keeping that unit cohesive. And a lot of resilience comes from seeing that. So now, when we look back, all of us have had phases in our life where maybe things were not the best. People may have seen a lot of sort of discord at home in terms of relationships. People may have seen financial problems, ups and downs. But the fact is that they got through it and they reached this point. So, which is why they are okay to handle it in their own life. So, children also need to see that. So, you don't have to always hide things from your children, but instead of arguing, with each other, where the child is just listening and you don't know what the child is making out of it, it's
yeah,
much
yeah.
better to sit the children down and talk to them. Like when we were moving to Nigeria, we sat our kids down. Our kids were very young, but we still sat them down and we explained to them that we're moving to another country, to another continent. We even told them that you will have people who will come and, tell you why Nigeria, people we are generally racist, why to the country of black people, all of that. We knew that. We told them you will face all these, remarks, but you have to go with an open mind. You will make new friends. It will be a new country. It'll be a great adventure. And that was the only way that we managed. So also children react differently. So my older child realized at the airport, she saw my parents were a little upset and, they was crying. So she had her like 5, 7 minutes of crying and she was 10 and a half, 10, and she was okay. My younger child was not even 6. She thought we are going on our annual holiday. So despite seeing all the movement and the packing and everything, it had still not registered in her head that this is a permanent move. And the first day when she had to go to school, that's when it hit her that, my God, this is now my life. And she cried for a week and a half every morning. She would howl to the point of vomiting. It was very tough. And
Okay.
then first 2 days, I sat in school there. I would keep talking to her, but still, like I'm saying, kids are different. The older one went to school the first day and she was totally fine. The younger one took a very long time to get over it. And then one day she told me that, let me take a break from school. One day, let me not go to school. So again, there was a very trying morning. We were ready to sit in the car and leave, and she was vomiting and she was sick. So I told her, what, forget it today, just don't go to school. So that day she stayed home with me and she realized that she got quite bored. There was really nothing to do. From the next day, I saw this change in her mind. And after that, she kind of settled down.
It's
So,
a very good example, what
yeah,
you're
so
saying.
resilience, you
Yeah.
sometimes it can really sort of bring you to your wits end. My husband and I would be arguing over this. He would say, "No, you're being too soft. You need to just let her go." And as a mother, I was like, "No, it's already been so much change for her." So every day we would be at it. But the point is, it was not easy. It's not easy. But sometimes, some situations are easier than others and some are not. But you have to just keep being at it and keep trying as a parent. I mean, there is
I
no.
totally agree. Your example is very relevant to this point, and children go through a lot of change in their lives these days. This is a very drastic change, of course, to move to another country, another culture.
Yeah.
Still, you handled it pretty well. The point that we were talking about was resilience, and you brought in two very interesting points to add to that. One was gratitude, which is obviously a sense that you have to inculcate in these kids, that
Yes.
they have to be thankful for what they have. And many families pamper their kids so much that they take things for granted. Of course,
Yes.
grown-ups also take things for granted, which is even worse. But
Yes.
often, kids are so spoiled that they don't know if they are suddenly put in an uncomfortable situation, they don't know how to handle it. The
Yes.
second point of
Absolutely.
conversation is actually the answer. And
Yes.
conversation between adults is also becoming very tenuous and very fleeting. People hardly talk, hardly get into long, meaningful dialogue these days, and they are more often than not it's all WhatsApp or texting, or if you're sitting with someone, you're fubbing them, and if you're
Yeah.
doing the same in front of your kids, they'll also do the same to you. And I
Absolutely.
think conversation is something you need to probably talk about a little more, because I think these conversation skills in kids have nothing to do with the schooling that they're undergoing. Very little comes out of the school. It's the parents who need to spend quality time talking. If a meal is about television, or it's about phone, or it's about not sitting together, everybody's eating at different times, then there's very little common time to be having a conversation. So what do you think about that?
So, I totally agree with what you're saying. The point is that even, I mean, I was doing a full-time job for 23 years. And in the last job that I had before I went to Nigeria, I was commuting from Gurgaon to Noida. I was in the car for 3 to 4 hours a day. So that phase, I barely saw my kids. I had about half an hour, 45 minutes with them in the morning and just about 40 minutes in the evening. But that 40 minutes in the evening was only spent talking to them without the phone, just about their day. And because there wasn't time to discuss the whole day, sometimes if I was free in the afternoon, I knew they're home, I would make sure I call at the time that the children have just about come home and have a 10-minute chat. Sometimes you can't, you're in meetings and you can't help it. You have deadlines. So in the evening, I would always ask them, tell me one good thing about your day and tell me one bad thing about your day. So at least that way you are in touch, you know what is going on. And if there is something troubling the child, it will come out in these conversations. A lot of time what happens is we are so busy that we don't even see the signs, you know
Yeah,
and like if they're on their phones the whole time, the conversation is not happening, then you really don't know, they keep retreating into that inner world, and sometimes it's I wouldn't say it's beyond repair, but it's gone very far ahead, and then you have to
yeah,
really
yeah,
take
yeah.
remedial action. So conversations can don't even have to be very long. Conversation should be meaningful. If you don't have time, you can just sit for half an hour and say one thing you're grateful for today, or how was your day, who are your new friends, if they've gone to a new environment, what activities did you try out today. That conversation or that communication channel to keep open is very important, especially when your children go away later. So even when they're out, they're in college, you talk to them, they make that one call to you for 10 minutes or whatever. As a parent, you can also tell if there's something on their mind, then you may be able to offer that advice on the phone. So even if you're
Yeah.
not physically there, that little bit of communication being open is a very big help in helping children stay grounded, whichever part of the world they're in. And gratitude, I think, is so important, because we don't even realize now how much we actually pamper our children without even, if you're with a child in the market, suppose, and the child says, I need sketch pens, it's how many parents will say, no, first let's go back home and check how many you have before buying. Because that 50 rupees or 70 rupees doesn't bother you. So you say, okay, let's be done with it. When you go back home, you realize there are already six sets lying. But this one is a little different because it's a little this. When we were younger, I remember my uncle, lives in Canada. Once he got us a set of 64 Crayola crayons. And I don't know how long we made it last, and how much we looked forward to it because it was not available here. But today
Yeah,
I see that we really have, every house has a problem of plenty. Their
yeah,
gadgets are plenty, art supplies are plenty, clothes are plenty, everything. And kids don't really actually need that much, to stay happy. They would rather have 10 minutes of your time sitting with them and playing a board game. If it's Monopoly, Cluedo, Ludo, whatever, name, place, animal thing, there's so many little games that you can just play for 10 minutes. And
I
you
see.
know,
Yeah, carry on.
we expose them to travel, we take them on these good holidays, and sometimes, they're flying business class. And very important for them to know that this has come because of so many years of hard work of your mom and dad. You have to earn this. It's not going to come naturally to you. And when that doesn't happen, when they're not told these things and they tend to start taking it for granted, that is when they get a big, huge culture shock, when suddenly they have to go out there and then they don't have this, this sort of unlimited ATM that their parents have become for them. And that is when, they realize that the salaries they're actually getting are not enough. The salary is not going to be enough to actually give you the kind of lifestyle you've been used to. So, of course, look after your children. Of course, what else are you earning for? But I think it's very important to draw the line, to give them what they need and only a little bit more, and to constantly make them aware of how thankful they need to be, and also to get into charity and donation, even if it's something small from their pocket money. Expose them to it from an early age, because that also really builds gratitude. I think it's so important to have a generation that gives back.
I totally agree. You've been absolutely forthright in saying that, and it's absolutely important that children are given the right values. We have a few very enthusiastic comments, so I'll just share them with you. One is Colonel Chima saying that the foundation to success are still integrity, ethics, gratitude, humility, and he's absolutely right. And our old friend Indu Saxena Bedi loves this talk. She says, and Amit Jindal is saying that that is a very thoughtful point that you made. There are other comments also coming in. So I would also like to say that since careers are also important for children to decide, and the pressure on kids to get high marks and then get into careers is immense, and then parents also expect their kids to get into the best colleges. So this is another stress factor, especially in the
Yes.
teens. So, what is the way to handle that? And also, excuse me, maybe you can add a little bit about journalism as a career. What is journalism like as a career? Is that something that you would advise the kids of today to aspire for?
So the thing is that, of course, career is a very big topic of conversation in every house where there are teenagers. And I mean, of course, if you are in tune with your children, you will know what their aptitude is lies in. I think very important now, which I see many more parents are open to the fact, is to always encourage your child to choose a career in tune with what they themselves have aptitude in, are good in, and want to pursue. Because we've had so many examples of people pushed to do the wrong subject and then eventually 10 years later wanting to change. Whereas if you're really, if you love what you do, you don't feel that you worked a day in your life. And I actually feel
Right.
that about my own career. But there are a lot. I mean, now in fact schools are also very proactive. There are lots of counselors available. There's counseling available in schools. Career counselors. There are so many online aptitude tests that children can take. And also, if children are confused, then I mean, a little bit of hand holding from parents or exposing them to different kinds of careers is also a good thing. Again, this will only come when you sit and talk. So,
Yeah.
my child, for example, is good at art, is inclined towards art, and was telling me that, she's thinking about interior design. So I said, okay, then why don't you think about maybe architecture? Because it's probably, a step ahead. Interior design sort of is a vertical that feeds into that. So, small things like that, or if somebody is really into sports and co-curriculars, then start, feeding that talent. Initially, of course, everybody lets their children try lots of activities because even they themselves don't know what they're good at. But a little bit also, I think, is important. At some point, parents need to start focusing them towards a few of those, whether it's a co-curricular or a sport. So, I mean, there was this book, Battle Hymn of the Tiger Mother, Amy Chua. It came out many years ago. And she
Yeah.
talked
Yeah.
about how, being an Oriental, so she talked about the whole parenting of the Oriental versus the Western, and how she
New
really pushed
York.
the children, yeah, to the point where, there was a lot of discord between her and her kids. But then she made sure that those few things she kept pushing them to doing. One, I think, was playing an instrument. They really excelled in those. So parenting always is a tough walk. You have to be their friend, yet at the same time, you have to keep nudging them towards, exposing them to new things and, new career options. Also, like I said, at some point, we ourselves don't even know what career options may open up. So, let them keep honing what they're good at. And then at some point, there will be a match. between their what they like and what career may come up. So I mean, whoever thought in our times that like being a tattoo artist could be a great career for somebody who's inclined in art, but today there could be so many more things now, or artificial intelligence. I mean, things we never thought about. And about journalism as a career, I mean, what I would say is that firstly, journalism is undergoing a lot of change. It's very different from the time that I started. And the print is different. There's digital. There's TV. So I mean, what I would say, at least to me and in my career, I think journalism is basically about people and it is about storytelling. So it is the narrative. The narrative gets tweaked according to the medium, but you have to be inherently interested in people and in their stories. Every person is a story. You have to listen, you have to want to spend that time with them, and you have to, of course, I mean, you have to be able to sort of you have to have that knack to have that conversation, to probe them a little further, to sometimes ask difficult questions without being offensive, always being sensitive to the other person's needs, but to bring them out. A lot of people are reserved and they don't really think that there's anything very extraordinary about their lives worth telling. So, it's all of those skills. And some people just inherently have them. Of course, you can go to journalism school and study. It's a great career for anybody who likes to tell stories. How you choose to do it or which medium you choose to go to, of course, is a personal thing. Some people are just not comfortable being in front of the camera. For them, print is a great option. And, that they can choose or they can see
That's
whatever. Digital is, of course, a totally different medium now, which offers both writing and being in front of the camera. It's evolving, it's dynamic. Technology has changed the way journalism is done. And, everybody has a phone in their hand. Anybody can be a journalist today in situations of war and, things like that, rapidly developing stories. Lay people have been reporting or breaking the story on Twitter. So the way
yeah.
stories are told and the way stories are consumed is changing so much. But it's a very exciting field. For me, the best thing about this was that every day was a new day. You went out, you met different people every day. And I've from interviewing Will Smith and Amitabh Bachchan to interviewing, a regular person on the road, or like, this one gentleman in Chandigarh, I can never forget. I was with the Times of India, as you know,
Yeah.
and I was sent to his house because his daughter had committed suicide, and the husband was a chief accused in the charge sheet, but he was absconding. And it was a tough thing to deal with at 22, 23. And this gentleman, without a single tear in his eye, he just kept showing me the paperwork and the files, because he must have spent years going up and down. Then he showed me a handwritten letter from his daughter, the last letter she wrote before she died. And then you go to the police station and do all of that. But then that's your day. That's what I'm saying. One day you could be covering entertainment somewhere, you could be flying somewhere to Singapore for a symposium, or going to Lucknow to interview Aishwarya Rai. On the other hand, you could be doing that. So it's all of this and more. And I think each person, of course, has their own sort of journey to navigate. So you move to what you want to do, and then you find the thing that you really enjoy and you kind of stick with it.
You must share those pictures with Will Smith and Amitabh Bachchan next time we're on air. But
So,
journalism, like everything else, has its pluses and minuses, as I also
yes,
know, you also know.
yes,
And these days, being on camera also requires certain skills to do with the vocal cords. You have to be very over loud at times. Well, so many things are happening all over the place. So these career choices are really important for parents and kids to understand very well. And communication is the key between
yes,
them. And you also mentioned a very key word, creativity, which is something that our education system does not foster in India, especially. And we need to improve that level of creativity and creative thinking.
yes,
And parents who indulge in creative pursuits with their kids will always find that the kids are more balanced and resilient also, because
yes,
creativity brings out that mental toughness and that diverse ability to think diversely and in
yes,
an all-round fashion. I think that's also very, very important. So
yes.
I see a lot of compliments but no questions, so perhaps we'll wrap up in a couple of minutes. So what
Sure.
I'm going to do is to ask you to probably just give a final overview to parents. What should they be doing in the coming months, in the coming years? How will parents be expected to be as a wrap up? And then perhaps we can take one question which is going to be popping up very soon. Okay. Yeah.
So I think basically, like we've talked about all these things: gratitude, grit, resilience, adaptability, flexibility. I think all of these are very important life skills: creative thinking, mindfulness. spend some time putting your child into some sort of pursuit that helps to kind of keep away all these extraneous stimuli that they are exposed to, whether it's gaming or whether on their phones, Instagram, this, that, Snapchat, whatever, all of those. It helps to kind of focus them in one place and really be in tune with who they are. So, spirituality doesn't only, of course, have to be like what we, the notion, it's just being in touch or in tune with your own spirit. If you're going for a walk, stop for 5 minutes, look at the little snail or look at the ants or whatever. These small, small little things also help to kind of really make people mindful, make children mindful. Put away your phone. Spend some time with your kids every day where there is no electronic gadget. I think that's also so important to, in a way, go back to the basics. And I really think that this time that we have got, parents can really use it to pause and reset. I really do feel that some of the things that our childhood had, which we kind of have forgotten, on the way, we really need to build on those again. Because I think a lot of these skills we inherently, they were sort of inculcated in us and we imbibed them without even realizing. Because there wasn't so much clutter or so much confusion around us, and there wasn't so much, happening in our lives. Now lives
Yeah,
have
yeah,
become very busy and frenzied, but it's still important to have that little quiet time every day as a unit. And they should not only be the mother, they should be, or just the father. Both parents need to actually spend that time with children, not only being soccer parents, taking them to activities and thinking they've done their bit. That is only logistics and coordination. The actual communication, talking, that little bonding time, I think that is very, very important. So parents can really, I
absolutely.
think about this as a time where they really can sort of, uh, pause, rewind a little, think a little bit about how to go forward, and just sort of, reorient their parenting and move forward.
Absolutely right. Absolutely well said. And so the Colonel Chima is suggesting a school for parents, perhaps, and online, especially. I think there should be classes for parents, which would do very well. I
Yeah,
also agree
I
with
see
him. And in
another
yeah,
question up here.
yeah, Indu Saxena is saying that boredom has its benefits for childhood. Yes, I remember we used to feel bored as kids, whereas these days there are so many choices that you only have to decide between the choices. And Prachi
Yes.
is asking recommendations on how not to lose your cool when trying to make children follow your directives. So maybe you can take that one and then we'll have to wrap up.
Yeah, I think not losing your cool, if you feel you're not getting through to the child, then I think at that point it's important to just take a step back, pause, the very old, count to 10 or take three deep breaths and and figure out why. Either the child at that time is doing something that they're very interested in. I had read this somewhere that if a child is watching a video, like imagine if you are watching a video and someone keeps coming and bugging you, you are so engrossed or immersed in that medium, it's like a break and it's irritating, it's grating. So if you are actually trying to get through to the child when the child is very involved in something, maybe wait for that 2 3 minutes so that you have the child in a perceptive state, or see what is it. If something is bothering the child is distracted by something, find the right time to communicate to the child, especially when children are older. You have to have that sensitivity also to know when your child is in the right mood. So the same message given when the child is perceptive can have fantastic results, or you can keep nagging forever and not get through. And as for boredom, I'd like to say when we were kids, there was no concept of I'm bored, because that was your life. You had these large number of hours where you just had to keep yourself busy. And we were so creative, we used whatever we could, twigs and grass and little things to create stuff. Whereas now it's all, everything is done for you. So that creativity and that thinking also, boredom is very important. So if your kids come and tell you, I'm bored, you need to tell them, great, boredom is lovely. Go find something to do.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Absolutely true. In fact, 45 minutes have elapsed. We were wondering in the beginning whether we'll have enough to talk about, but I think we can go on for many more minutes. However, it's time to wrap up. And thank you very much, Geetika, for joining this show, and all the guests, all the audience members who've been asking questions or just setting up, sending us likes. So thank you. Keep watching our Vibrant Forum series of conversations. And Geetika, all the best to you for your new venture on Let's Raise Good Kids. So let's raise good kids as a community, as a world, as a nation, and let's hope for a better tomorrow. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's been great chatting with you.
Thank you, and all the best.